Hello and welcome to episode 31 of the Slow Crafting Podcast. My name is Nadine and I'm coming to you today from the northeast of England near Manchester, and this is a podcast about my attempts to incorporate a slow living or slow fashion agenda into my making, be it knitting, spinning, crochet, sewing, a whole range of fibre goodness, and trying to increase my handmade wardrobe at the same time. Right, I should perhaps explain the tired face and the rather dishevelled look this morning. You've got me sans makeup, wet hair, everything, because I've just got out of the shower and I am possibly still half asleep when I'm talking to you this morning. But I shall try and not be too garbled and incomprehensible. Right, today's episode is going to be a little bit different because normally I would be showing you my progress on my outfits for the year, but I have recently returned from my trip to Orkney, so I'm actually going to be showing you the holiday sewing that I did beforehand. So for all the people, that's not for me. It was I've got bits for my daughters and bits for my other half. Right. So I'll start with the stuff that I made from scratch for my other half. This was quite a significant project for me because I hadn't made a shirt before. Well, it's not strictly speaking I have. The pattern that I used is the All-State shirt from Merchant and Mills. Now, earlier on in the year, I did make a toile for this, which I meant to bring down as well, actually, but I've forgotten. But I'll insert a picture of that at the end. Because the fabric that I bought for it was some navy blue chambray from Merchant and Mills themselves, which was actually really reasonably priced. I think it was only about £7 a metre, which made me very happy. But I didn't want to, because it was such beautiful fabric, I didn't want to ruin it by just going in all guns blazing and making a mess up. So I made for once I actually made a toile, and it turned out really nicely. The toile possibly turned out slightly neater than my finished piece, but I'll show you that. Now, this, you'll be able to see. This is the finished shirt. It's in need of an iron. We took it on holiday with us, but I'm dreadful at ironing, so I didn't want to iron creases into it. And it's got a pocket here, and it's short sleeved, open collared, and then yoked at the back. But this fabric is just so soft and so lovely. I'll show you close up the buttons. They were just that ones I had in my stash that Mark picked himself. I gave him free rein on my button stash, which was unheard of. I'm not sure they're entirely evenly placed looking at it now, but when it's on it doesn't look too bad. And my buttonholes, this is a definite sign of love, are hand stitched. So yes, there's places where my stitching, it doesn't run quite straight and even, and then there's a bit on my top stitching which could have been a bit neater, but he's happy with it, so I'm happy with it. Yeah, in terms of difficulty, I'll base it on making the toile. It was really straightforward. The pattern talks you through everything and walks you through without you being confused about what you need to be doing. I think the only mistakes I made on the finished shirt were because I was doing it late at night in the run up to going on holiday when I wanted him to be able to wear it. So it was tiredness and rushing that made me make a mistake rather than any issues with the pattern. But yes, he loves it. It fits him perfectly. I will say that my other half he's got a healthy shaped body. He's not by any stretch of the imagination overweight, but he had to be in the second to largest size, I think. Yeah, it only goes up to a 46-inch chest for men. So, I mean, you could probably get away with it sort of a bit a size larger because it is a relaxed fit. Possibly. It'd just be a bit of a snugger fit on you, but no, in terms of sizing, I didn't think it was particularly generous, because I know when I showed my dad it the other day, and he loved it. I was like, trying to encourage my mum to make him one, and I did have to say that there was no way that the pattern would be big enough for him. So he had a bit of a sulk about that, but yeah, so a big thumbs up from me for the pattern and the fabric, and a big thumbs up from my other half on the finished object, and he loves it. Now, unfortunately, he didn't actually get to wear it on holiday. We took it on holiday with us, and the reason it needs ironing is because it was crumpled up in his bag. But we didn't get to go out for a posh meal like we'd planned, because children are delightful, and the day that we'd booked to go and have a nice sit-down meal, they decided that was the day that they were going to have had enough of behaving and being sensible, and just completely went off on one, and it was like, no. We cancelled the reservation and had fish and chips by the harbour instead, outside, where we couldn't bother anybody by annoying them with chaotic children. But never mind. So he's still desperate to wear it out rather than just for trying on. But hopefully we'll get a chance to soon. So yes, that's that. I only made him the one thing, because I'm quite selfish. Well, not really, no. He didn't need anything, and if he doesn't need it, he doesn't want it or won't wear it. So the shirt I could get away with because he did need a new shirt. Right, now the next thing I didn't actually sew from scratch. It's a repair or a modification on an existing garment. Now, it was a plain white cotton cardigan, of a fine knit, machine knit one from, I think, looking at the label, it was probably Primark originally, but it's my daughter's, my oldest daughter's. She had it as a hand-me-down from her cousins, and as a white cardigan, she wore it for parties and things. But then it ended up, I think it ended up in the linen basket with a cleaning cloth on top of it, and it's got stained, quite a lot of staining. And I was really annoyed because, one, it wouldn't come out, and two, it was her party cardigan that was ruined. So instead of throwing it away, I decided to embellish it with some embroidery to try and cover up, or at least distract you from the stains on it. Looking at it now, there are still areas of staining that I've missed, and it's not covered it up completely, but I could quite easily have covered the entire cardigan in embroidery, so I had to stop I had to stop myself from doing any more on it. Right, so this is the cardigan finished with all its embroidery, because there was the small patches of stains here, and then the biggest stain was here, and then on this sleeve there was some more patches of staining. There was a little blob on the back, but then nothing really on this sleeve. I'll give you a bit of a close-up view. So there's some bit of woolly tattoos in the style of Dotty Angel, with the flowers. Just some use some inspiration from some embroidery books that I've got, some like vintage Batsford embroidery books. So I've used maybe a fly stitch to do some what look like leaves, and then I've pliqued some felt circles, then done embroidery on top of those, and then I've filled in between with just some little seed stitches, and I've done pretty much the same on all the big areas. Now I appreciate you can't really see a great deal from there, but I'll insert some pictures in a minute of the process involved, so you can see what the cardigan was like to begin with the stain, and then each of the stages of me embroidering it. But luckily she absolutely loves it, and she's worn it out and about. Now, part of me wishes that people would stop her and go, "Oh, your cardigan's beautiful. Who did that for you?" But they haven't. They've gone, "Oh, that's a nice cardi," and just assumed that it was bought with that embroidery on it. I did it. I rescued this from the scrap pile. But no, the important thing is that she loves it and she can wear it again. So that was that. And in terms of what I used, I just used some leftover sock wool for the woolly embroidery on it. And the flowers themselves are basically just chain stitch for the petals and bullion stitch or French knots, depending on how big it is, for the centres of the flowers. So yeah, I just used some leftover sock wool because I knew I could then throw this in the washing machine without any worry of it shrinking or having to hand wash it or anything. So yes, success. Now, yes, I'll insert the pictures so you can see them and see the different stages of rescuing the garment. Hello, I'm back. Right, the next item are these self-drafted shorts for my youngest. Now, I actually cut these out about 2 years ago when we went on holiday. Yeah, it was, because I think we were in Scotland. Yeah, cut them out 2 years ago, and they fit her. Because I think I cut them out bigger, but then never got around to making them for her. Because I made some of the same fabric and exactly the same style, because they're just very basic elasticated waist, sort of mid-thigh length shorts. I made some exactly the same for my oldest daughter when she wanted a Chris Ackrid shorts. I think I talked about them last time, because it's the same fabric that I've used in the bottom of this dress. But instead of having a bicycle on her, my youngest has a squirrel. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see that. There you go, little squirrel. So she knows, basically, because they've got no fancy detailing on them, that they are just the same front and back. So to give her an idea which way around to wear them, we've got a little squirrel on the front. So yeah, so they didn't take very much effort at all. I just sewed them up because I found them when I was looking for some other fabric, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if they'll still fit, and they did. So yes, she got an extra pair of shorts. But yeah, like I say, it's self-drafted. Basically, all I did to do that was I took a pair of shorts that she already had and folded them in half like that, and then got loose thread then, and then drew sort of the curve for the crotch. I think I did elongate the leg section because the ones that she had were little short shorts, so I elongated it to add in a bit of extra length and hem allowance, and then elongated the top section to allow for a double fold over for the channel for the elastic. Yeah, and then just added a seam allowance around the rest of it. So yeah, so it's only actually 2 pieces. So put it on the fold. And the same shaped piece front and back. I just cut 2 of them, so that did 1 leg each. So there's no side seam. And those are those. That was how I did my other daughter's shorts as well, and that was how I did the pyjamas I made for them at Christmas, because my youngest got a pair of shorts pyjamas, and my oldest, I just used an existing pair of her pyjama trousers, the bottoms, and made her trouser length pyjama bottoms, doing basically a traced pattern template from a pair of her trousers already. So that was that. I was very straightforward. Now the little squirrel on the shorts was an offcut, a scrap from the next project. I decided that it was good because we'd had lots of hot weather. I had noticed that the girls didn't have many vest tops or little strappy dresses or anything. Basically, they either had short sleeve t-shirts or long sleeve t-shirts. If it was any hotter than that, they basically just took the t-shirts off and ran around the garden in the pants. So I thought that's not going to work on holiday, or indeed if we were going out in public anywhere, whilst it was still hot. So I made 2 tops. Now my oldest wanted just a top length one, so just down to her hips. In fact, she did actually want a cropped top made out of this fabric, and I drew the line at that. I'm like, you are 5 years old, I am not making you a crop top. I don't know where she got this idea from. I think she'd probably seen some of the older girls at school wearing them. You will have proper length top and cover your tummy up. Because I know she'd put it on and then she'd complain that it was too short and that she was cold. But anyway, so yes, it's a very basic pattern. I had a book on folk embroidery out of the library, and this pattern was actually in there. Well, I say pattern, it was basically a basic recipe for how to make this top. It's like a pillowcase dress. So basically you have it you either use a pillowcase, and so you have fabric that is as wide as a pillowcase, and then you cut a slight angle up either side so that you end up with like a trapezium shape, and then you fold over the top to make a channel to run a cord through for the shoulder straps. That's it. Now I didn't actually use a pillowcase for these. I used some fabric that I'd got when I went to see my mum earlier on this year. So it is a printed cotton, which, as I've said before, wouldn't, when I'm buying fabric now, wouldn't necessarily be my first choice. But it's got matryoshkas on, and I'm powerless to resist a matryoshka. So this is the fabric, and yeah, like I said, it's just, so if I straighten it out, you can see it's more or less almost still a rectangle, but not quite, because you cut the bit off at the corner. I think it was about 3 inches. You go in 3 inches in from the top at either side, and then draw a line from there down to the bottom for however long you want the top to be, and then cut that triangle off on either side, and then sew up the sides. Now for the arm holes, I did bias bind the armholes rather than just folding them in and sewing down, but you could just sew them down at the sides. I think I ended up stitching these by hand actually, because I'd done something to my sewing machine, and I think in the end, I think it was actually I was using too small a needle, and it kept using a needle for fine fabrics, but with a standard size cotton, and it kept fraying the cotton and all going wrong. So I bought some new needles. Actually, no, I didn't. I found some in my other half sewing machine and changed them. So then I had the ability to sew the other things on the sewing machine. But also, I ended up sewing these by hand because the girls were playing out in the garden quite a lot when we had really hot weather. And I can't sew on the machine outside. So I thought, rather than force them to be inside and be miserable as I sat sewing on the machine, I just took my sewing outside, sewed it by hand while they were playing and having fun in the garden. So yes, that's that. You just basically, this strap is just one long piece of fabric that you fold into you fold the sides in, basically like your bias binding, but like the sides fold into the middle, and then you fold it in half again, and then you sew up the top, and it makes a cord, and then you just thread it through the channel that you've made at the top, so it ties at one side. Now the girls really like these tops because they remind them of my Dotty Angel tops that I've got, the bib fronted ones that I've talked about in previous episodes, because they're the same sort of baggy style at the bottom, and they've got one strap there and a tie fasten at the other side, so I think they feel like they're almost wearing the same outfit as Mummy, which is nice. So yes, Ingrid wanted hers top length. Erica, on the other hand, wanted hers dress length. So the same process for making, but I just made hers longer and put a little bit of trim on the bottom. I'm trying to think where I got this trim, I think I got this trim at a car boot sale. I had a ratch through somebody's craft box. I picked a few bits out, so that was good. Now Ingrid is 5, but big 5, and Erica is 3, nearly 4. But I used the same width of fabric all I did was alter the length, which was what it said to do in the book. It said you didn't alter the width for if you're making a different size age wise. All you did was lengthen or shorten the body of the dress. So that's what I did. So Erica's fits slightly different to Ingrid's, but doesn't matter. And because that you alter the length, Erica should be able to wear hers for quite a while. I mean, I might have to take the cord out of the top and make a longer one, but she should be able to wear it until it fits as a vest top rather than a dress. So that's quite good. We like outfits that will last a long time. Now, the final pieces, oh sorry, again, these are the same but different sizes, so hopefully that's not too boring. I've dropped my pattern piece. Right. Again, I made these for the girls. I made exactly the same thing but in just 2 different sizes. I made some shorts, and this is in the Birder Kids. I made these shorts here, which is view D, and it's pattern 9440. Right, now I said a minute ago that my girls are, sorry, I'm not comfortable today, aged 5 and not quite 4, but they are big for their age. They are both quite tall. I keep thinking my youngest is really tiny, but it's because I'm comparing her to the oldest. But every time we take her out, she's like, oh, she's tall. I'm like, oh, okay. So I didn't make ages 3 and 5. I made age 7 for my oldest, and age 4 for my youngest. Now, yeah, these are the cutest shorts ever. They've got little pockets in the side, which was my first time at doing like a hip pocket. I don't know what that's really called, but I was amazed at how neat and how easy it was. So I think I won't necessarily balk at patterns that have it as on an adult pattern now, because I was always a bit, ooh, it looks a bit complicated, but it's not once you've got the instructions in front of you. I did have to say the instructions for Birder were really quite good. They made sense, and I wasn't left confused about anything, because I know some of the sort of simplicity on New Look sometimes can be a bit scant on the instructions, but this Birder one was good. They've got a yoked back. Oh, this a bit so the back sits higher up, and my seams match up on there, which I was just amazed by. And they've got a concealed zip, well, partially concealed zip. My skills at that weren't as good as they could have been, but my first time doing a concealed zip as well, and I did this stitching by hand because I didn't trust myself to do it on the machine. This is a thing I do. If I'm at all unsure about stitching, I will do it by hand, because I just feel like I'm less likely to make a mistake, or if I do, it's easier to rip out. And I didn't really want to have to rip out any mistakes on here, because I made these with some offcuts from the shirt that I made for my other half, so they're the same blue chambray from Merchant and Mills. But once you've sewn on the sewing machine, you can't really unpick it without it leaving a white line where you've sewn. So I didn't want to have to do any unpicking at all on this, which luckily I haven't. They've got a waistband with an elasticated back section, so that was my first time doing one of those as well. I've got another hand-stitched buttonhole, and the girls picked their own buttons. Erica picked one with flowers on, and these are the bigger size, again with the pockets and the concealed zip. And Ingrid picked one with a butterfly on, and they were just buttons out of my stash, so they were quite happy. But yeah, so and now I did measure supposedly the elastic. I got them to try the shorts on and worked out how big the piece of elastic at the back needed to be, but somehow they're both quite baggy on them, so they've got plenty of growing room in still, and they're a decent length because they're on the pattern. The shorts are actually folded up, but if I'd have done that for the girls, they would have been too short, so I just hemmed them and let them have long shorts. Because they're so active, I prefer them wearing long shorts because they're basically so the bum doesn't fall out of the shorts when they're playing, because it's not nice. You don't. I wouldn't want my bum falling out of a pair of shorts when I was playing about, but then I'd be less likely to be flinging my legs up in the air and swinging them at me. So I always do them longer length shorts. I don't like short shorts on anybody. But now, if you knew me at university and saw me wearing my hot pants, that might not make a lot of sense. If you don't like short shorts. But no, as I've grown older, I've moved away from short shorts, and now everybody must have shorts that come at least halfway down their thigh, just because they're more practical and sensible. So yeah, that's all my holiday making. So there was quite a bit, but it was all things that the girls needed, because Erica, the shorts that she's been wearing, age 18 months to 2 years, because they're just jersey and elasticated waist, so they just stretch and fit. So she did need some new shorts, so she's got 2 new pairs now. And there were the tops, the Matryoshka tops and the shorts, and the white cardigan actually, because Erica's got a plain white cardigan, were their smart going out outfits for when we went on holiday, because we were camping, so most of the time they were just in what at home would be plain out clothes. So just t-shirts and leggings, or t-shirts and shorts, and jumpers for charging about beaches and playing on the campsite or exploring the countryside, basically. So we did have one nice outfit each to take with us, for in case we went out for a meal, or because we were in Edinburgh for a couple of days first before we went up to Orkney. So they had a posh outfit for going out, for a day out when we were in Edinburgh as well. So that was good. Now I appreciate. I was planning on talking about the trip to Orkney and being all gushing and excited about it. However, I'm short on recording time this morning because I'm squeezing it in while my children, normally only one of them goes shopping, but both of them have gone today, are shopping with my other half, and I'm conscious that they're probably going to be due back sometime soon, and don't want to be interrupted by them. So I won't waffle about Orkney, just to say it was amazing. You must go. I recommend it. It's just a stunning place, and I can see totally why my brother and his wife decided to move there after visiting it. I have no plans to do so soon because I've been thoroughly spoiled by living next to a big city for pretty much since I was about the last 15 years. No, I'm lying. The last 20 years. I've been spoiled by living next to a big city. So I quite like being able to get hold of a whole range of exotic and exciting things, which I wouldn't necessarily be able to do quite so easily if I moved to Orkney. So I've no plans to do that. But it is lovely, and very much planning on going back again soon for another holiday. But yeah, it's lovely. And I might talk about it a bit more on my next episode when I will talk you through my next outfit. In fact, I probably will talk to you a bit more about Orkney then, because one of the things that I've been knitting has been using North Ronaldsy wool, so that would tie in and make sense. Right, I shall get off and go tidy all this away before they get back. All right then, thank you very much for listening, and I hope to speak to you again soon. Bye bye.